Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and welcome to Knife AQ number 14. It's the series where I answer all your knife questions, whether they're big or small, sharp or keen, you know the drill. Today we got some cool stuff to talk about. I'm going to revisit a couple of old questions that we've got some new and updated information for, as well as some cool new stuff to check out as well. Let's do it. All right, before I start the questions, I promise you folks our pledge drive season is almost over. We are getting so close to hitting that 100,000 subscriber mark. And if you enjoy the content and haven't subscribed already, would definitely appreciate it if you could click that button and help us get over that hump before the end of the year. It would be just a nice way to end 2020 on a positive note. But once we hit that, I'll shut up about it again. But in the meantime, let's get into the questions. First of which comes from Charles Mirasola. It says, what is a good EDC slicer, blade size 3 or 4 inches? I like that nice big open-ended question there. And well, to a certain extent, pretty much any knife out there can slice. If we kind of break it down and think of things that are actually geared specifically towards longer slicing cuts, and to me, I usually think of longer as part and parcel with slicing. I like things that have a lot of belly. If it's got a continuous belly along the edge, even better. And I like that because as you move your elbow, as you move through a cut, that curve, it's very easy to get that to follow the curve or the twisting of your arm as you go through material. So that's what I like to look for. And I've actually got two here from my personal EDC rotation that I can show you that I really like. The first is the Spyderco Spidey Chef. This one obviously is used, as you can see. Like I said, this is one of mine. Has seen a fair bit of carry from me. They come in about $234 right now. And what I like about it is blade length's 3.2 inches, and we've got LC200N stainless steel, which is a really nice steel. I've been really happy with the performance here. A lot of you may be familiar with Spyderco's H1 steel in their salt knives, which is virtually rust proof, which most stainless steels can't say. Stainless, of course, means it stains less, not stain proof. But H1 is the exception, and LC200N is right up there with it, maybe just a hair behind H1 in terms of the corrosion resistance, but it's almost rust proof. And the edge retention is a lot better than H1. It's getting closer to some of the more premium steels out there. And this blade shape with a Spidey Chef, you might think it'd be kind of a rocking type of cut with this blade, which I think that's kind of what they were going for, but in actual use, I think it pulls off draw cuts and long slicing cuts exceptionally well. You've got that continuous belly, you've got a little bit of an offset to it because of that handle angle there, and it just feels so at home moving through, moving through all sorts of things. Cardboard especially is where I experience it most when you're breaking down boxes, doing those long cuts. It just works really, really well. Apart from that, it's just a nicer premium folder. You got titanium for the handles, frame lock, wire pocket clip, which is reversible, and the action always feels really good on this knife. If you like this, they come in and go out really quickly when they are in, and they've been tweaking it a little bit. The newer ones have black hardware rather than the plain hardware on this particular one, but the shape is still the same and it's still a fantastic knife. Now for a more budget-friendly slicer, Revo Ness, one of my favorite knives of the year, no doubt. This one comes in at $48 right now. And it is one of the prototypical sub $50 D2 flippers, which there's a ton of stuff out there, and this one fits right in. Obviously you folks know I love a Nessmuck as well, and this blade shape is a Nessmuck through and through, and you've got that continuous belly on this edge that I like for long slicing cuts. 3.6 inches, D2 steel, nice heavy stone washed finish. Not super heavy, but it's not like a Hinderer working finish, but there's a good amount of stone wash texture going on here, which I really like. You've also got sort of a flowing offset to the handle, so you have a similar, almost similar angle of attack when you're actually slicing to that Spidey Chef. Not quite identical, but it's getting close, and it feels great, again, for those nice long slicing cuts. You can still pierce really well with this because the tip is more or less along the center line, and of course, it's a nice flipper as well. Ball bearings in the pivot, liner lock, nice deep carry pocket clip there. Right side only on this particular one, but that's another great option for you to check out. You've got two there at a nice range of prices and materials. All right, next question is from Ian McMillan. He says, idea for a talking point, the pros and cons of fixed and folders for hunting and skinning. Great one. Yeah, I really like that because it's something I hint at or talk about in a lot of the other videos, but not as the focal point. It's more of an incidental comment when I'm talking about things. So let's look at a fixed blade here first. I have the SEJG5. Really nice Nessmuck blade shape again. Since I get to pick the knives here, I'm going to pick another Nessmuck. American made, comes in about 115, 5.5 inch, or sorry, no, just under 5 inch, 1095 blade. Really nice. So the kind of the pros of the fixed blade, of course, is one, it's typically going to be stronger than a folder, although there are some cheap fixed blades out there. But for the most part, your fixed blade is going to be stronger. It's also going to be easier to keep clean because there's no folding or moving parts to worry about. Now the downsides of a fixed blade are going to be solved by a folder, and the same goes in reverse. The downsides of the folder are addressed by fixed blade construction. But a folder is going to be more discreet and easier to carry, mainly because it's not sitting on a sheath outside of your belt, but they are going to be harder to keep clean and generally speaking, not as strong as a fixed blade, especially a nice full tank fixed blade like this ESEE. But some people are gonna want to take a folder for those reasons. You'll be able to fit it in a pocket rather than on your belt, and it's a more compact thing overall. And actually, those two knives I just showed you wouldn't be bad hunting folders, either of those, the Revo Ness or the Spyderco Spidey Chef. Especially the Ness, the original Nessmuck was very much a hunting knife pattern, and you've got a lot of belly there to do your skinning work. And both of these knives have an open backed construction that's going to be decently easy to keep clean, but they do have ball bearings in the pivot, so that is a potential place where you might get things might get a little bit gummed up there, especially if you let things get dried out before you clean it. But you're not going to do that, are you? You're going to take care of them. So those are decent options. However, an even better option, at least for something that will address the keeping clean part, is the CRKT Homefront Hunter. This comes in about $64. You've got a 4116 stainless steel blade. Nothing super spectacular in terms of the wow factor, but it's definitely very serviceable and easy to maintain. And the whole thing with the Homefront is the field strip mechanism, which lets you actually take this knife apart real easily without any tools. Whether you're out in the field, you can rinse it off with your canteen or in a stream, that sort of thing. Or if you're using this, say, in the kitchen or for some food prep. It's just a handy little thing. And of course, you've got a great upswept profile here, another great slicer. Kind of this, in a way, is kind of a complementary choice to those first two knives I showed you. But there you go. If you're going to take a folder hunting, the main thing I would say is make sure you're confident in your ability to keep it clean and running. All right, for the next question, we're going back to revisit from a couple of weeks ago when we had some questions, or we had someone ask about steak knives. And I had a few suggestions and kind of threw it to you folks in the comments, and you guys came up with some really great ideas. So much so that I got really jazzed on it a little more. I liked some of the stuff you were throwing out, and I came up with some other ideas also. So it's time to revisit that question with a few more things to talk about. So let me read that off again. It's from Don Coddington. What knife would you recommend as a steak knife to bring to restaurants? Of course, I mentioned trailing point fixed blades, especially anything in the right size you like. But for the purposes of this discussion, we're primarily at this point looking at folders. And surprise, surprise, those first three I showed you would make really good personal steak knives in a restaurant. It's not a coincidence. I do pick these questions out, so I saw some symmetry here. I wanted to just kind of carry these three knives through the questions. But I think they're really fun. I mean, especially for me, I own a Spidey Chef. This would be great. You've got that nice stainless, very, very stainless blade, fairly easy to keep clean, nice elegant profile, and you got a bit of an offset, like I said, that they thought about for cutting board work, but that's going to give you a little bit of knuckle clearance on a plate if you're using it to cut steak. And with that long slicing profile like that, good for long slicing cuts, good for skinning, good for cutting meat on your plate or still on the bone, as it were. Very cool option. But I've got more. For a more affordable kind of spin off of, gives you something similar to that Spidey Chef, CRKT's Overland, which came out this year, is not a bad choice either. $55 right now, and you've got that same kind of offset to give you that knuckle clearance. 8CR stainless steel, real easy to maintain, so especially if you dig down onto the plate a little farther than you anticipate, it's going to be easier to bring that edge back. And even though this is kind of a modified Wharncliffe and you don't have as much belly, it's still going to work pretty well because of that offset and because of the belly that is there for your steak knife cuts. Beyond that, I do have some more still. The Kershaw Tumbler, I think would make a really cool one. This comes in at $70, a Dmitry Sinkovich design, D2 steel, about 3 1/4 inches of blade. And it's got their sub frame lock too, which is a pretty cool thing. So you get most of that lightweight handle material here on the back, but you still get the kind of full contact lockup of a frame lock, which is cool. Now this one doesn't necessarily have knuckle clearance in the same way, but because of the curve down to the handle here and the upswept tip with a lot of belly on this, it's going to present that belly real nicely when you're going to cut on a plate to cut through that steak. You just got all slicing profile right there as you're going to town. But this would make another good 3 to 4 inch slicing knife feller there at the beginning. Three more. Spyderco Ikuchi. One of you guys mentioned this down in the comments of that last video. Great option, really nice. $140 too, so not too extravagant. S30V blade, 3 1/4 inches long. Again, nice trailing point. Going to present that edge in a very nice angle to the meat, and it's a nice classy look too, so it wouldn't look as out of place maybe as that CRKT if you were in a very high-end restaurant. But you've got the compression lock, so it flicks, you can flick it closed very easily, and a real nice, not a flipper tab, kind of a flip wheel or flip semicircle that works very well to launch that blade out. Now, one of the other things that you folks mentioned were some traditional knives like the Opinels and the Lagoyers, which again, really cool, and 2 drastically different price points as well. I've got both of those here. I've got one of my Opinels at the top. You can tell because it's a little corroded from or there's a little bit of patina on the carbon steel blade here. But these are great, like $15, really slim blades, nice fine edges, gonna work really well, nice and comfortable. Both of these will be maybe a little bit more difficult to keep clean, so just keep that in mind, especially since they're not disassemblable, and you gotta be careful about the open pore wood there at the top, but not a bad option nonetheless. Now the Lagoyers out there are definitely more expensive. This one's on sale right now for about $170. Normally they're about $200, so definitely pricey. And you're not necessarily getting exotic materials, but you are getting a piece of history with this. This style of knife has been made for a long time, and it definitely looks very classy too. This particular one has walnut for the scales, 12C27 for the blade, and kind of the namesake for them, or not the namesake, but the trademark for them, really intricate back spring and the little B there at the top of that back spring. Because this is a slip joint, by the way, not a locking folder. But definitely wouldn't look out of place in a classy restaurant, and it even comes with a nice leather slip case to take it in and out with you. All right, next question is from CyberDD. Do you have a model with a SIM ejector tool or with something pointy that could be used to remove SIM trays from smartphones? Yes, I actually have I had never thought about that before, but there's a couple of good options, and I would look at the Swiss Army knives that have the pin in their scales, and there's not many of them out there. The Victorinox Compact is a good recommendation in general, but since you're talking about the phone use specifically, I'm guessing you may work around computers a lot or with some other techie stuff. So in that case, I'm gonna recommend the Cyber Tool. And there's a few different versions. This is the entry version of it, comes in at $78. And there's versions that add things like scissors and pliers and extra layers of tools as you go up. But if you, on this particular knife, you pull the corkscrew back, right here, you're gonna see a small, essentially a sewing pin. Nice and narrow, and that's gonna work well. If it's a little too pointy, it'd be real easy. Just take a real fine piece of sandpaper or an emery board or even a nail file this Swiss Army knife does not have a nail file, but you could kind of blunt that tip just a little bit, and that might help. I'm sure Thomas, my video editor, is having a great time trying to focus on this little guy. So I'm going to hold it up a little longer, make him earn his paycheck today.
Come on, man.
But the other thing, he actually had a really great suggestion. Another use for a pin like this is actually cleaning out the USB ports or the charging ports on your phones as well. Especially if you've blunted the tip. I'd personally feel a little bit better about it if I've done that. But nice to kind of get in there and remove the pocket lint and dust that might get in there and might affect the charging or capabilities of those ports. So yeah, either the compact would be good or any of these cyber tools would be nice. But the cyber tools also have a few other things you might get some use out of. We've got a fine screwdriver here. It's an eyeglass driver, but there's plenty of small screws to deal with in electronics. And then on the front side, it's actually got a small bit driver here with a few different sizes of bits that you can use. And this is just a standard size, what is it, the 1/8 inch bit, I think. So if these particular bits don't suit you, you could use some other ones. But again, great for some of the electronics out there. And the fact that you can store those extra bits right in there is quite nice. So especially if you work on the same machines all the time and you know you need the same drivers all the time, fit them in your pocket. You don't have to worry about it. And it's got a nice half stop on the arm here, so you could apply a little bit of torque to the screw head if you need to, or you could use it in line as well. Apart from that, you've got your blades, you've got your can openers and bottle openers, and the nice translucent scales, because this is a nice techie model, so that's a nice touch. And then of course, the range goes up. You can spend as much as about 105 on this if you want even more tools than this particular one offers. All right, next question is from John Gunter. He says, "Hey David, could you suggest something for me that has the type of edge retention of something like K390 or 10V, but can be used for heavy-duty tasks? I'd like something I don't have to worry about it rusting easily, and prefer something with a nice, strong lockup." Sure, cool question. I will nitpick your question though just a little bit. K390 and 10V can definitely be used for heavy-duty tasks. They've got a decent bit of toughness there that you're going to be able to put to use, but they aren't stainless. So I think that's what you're getting at. You want a hard use or a extreme edge retention stainless that you won't have to worry about that for. So to kind of get there, I would look at stuff. S90V and S110V are the knives I would key in on. And I think like 110V is a little bit more stainless than S90, so I'm going to show two options for you from Spyderco in that steel. All right, the first is one of the versions of their Manix 2 Lightweight with S110V and dark blue FRN handles coming in at about 143 at the moment. Really nice design, and it's got a lot of the Spyderco greatest hits. You may get tired of me saying that, but a lot of Spydercos are designed kind of with the same core qualities about them, and that's what makes them, Spydercos. That's what makes them good. You've got a really nice blade shape with a full flat grind, so you've got excellent cutting geometry as well. And that's something, especially with a high wear-resistant steel like this, go with something that's got a really keen cutting geometry. If you go with something that's a little more obtuse or a little chunkier maybe, you're not going to be getting the full benefit of a steel like this. So you've got that here, easy one-hand opening with the hole, reversible pocket clip, wire in this case, nice full grip. Even for my slightly larger than average hands, I can get all 4 of my fingers on the main grip, and then you've got that finger choil in order to choke up if you need a little bit more range, or if you need to really hone in and do some really fine detail stuff, especially with the tip. It's also got Spyderco's ball bearing lock. It may look kind of like a crossbar lock, but it's actually a ball bearing on a thrust spring, or a spring that pushes it forward into the tang of the knife. And it's just got these tabs on the outside that help you move that ball bearing back and forth. So it's got really nice ambidextrous operation, great for lefties and righties because you've got the reversible clip as well. And you can even flick it open and closed as well if you don't want to open it more deliberately. And I always appreciate a lock like this because you can keep your fingers out of the way of the edge when you close it too, which is quite nice. Now the blade length here is about 3.4 inches, and the handles, like I said, are FRN. If you want more reach or a more something with a higher perceived degree of stability than the FRN, also from Spyderco, check out their military model. This guy has a 4-inch blade, and you've got the Blurple G10 coming in about $213 at the moment. Now you can also get the Para 3 and the Para 2. Both of those knives have the compression lock for a little bit less with this kind of same configuration as well. But if you're looking for kind of the most reach for a knife steel like that, this is a really great way to go. Again, you've got great cutting geometry with the blade like this, ambidextrous opening, not ambidextrous locking necessarily in this case, because it's just a liner lock, which is good, don't get me wrong. It's just not as easy, I think, for lefties to use in general, and a single position pocket clip tip down in this case. But this is a heavy duty, just a real working knife right there. Tons of reach, tons of handle length, and a bit of that choil there so you can choke up to do that tip work as well. It's just a beast, you know. It's gonna hold up for you for quite a while. It's gonna have an edge that ain't gonna quit, and it's made in the USA too, which I always appreciate. All right, next question is from Mike Arvig. It says, I know you've done some sharpening tips, and maybe I've missed this, but how do you sharpen a recurve blade? I was recently gifted a SOG Kiku XR, and I love it, but I've been hesitant to carry it as much as I would like since I don't know how to sharpen it. Sure. I would go, well, the easiest way, there are a bunch of different ways you could tackle the problem, but the easiest way I've found is with a rod-based system, and I always like to recommend the Spyderco Sharpmaker. It's versatile, it's easy to use. They're not exorbitantly expensive, they're not cheap, but they come in about $73. With that, you get the case, you get the 2 sets of rods, and basically anything you'd need. I will say that their gauntlet might be a little bit better on a recurve edge just because the stones on that system are elliptical. But those start cheaper, but you only get a single set of rods, and to upgrade with a more abrasive set of rods for heavier use is going to put you above where the Sharpmaker would be. But either one of those would work really well. And we've actually done videos on those in the past as well, so I'll make sure to leave you some links in the description for those videos also. All right, next is from Kevin Reed, and this is actually a revisit of a previous question as well. I'll read it off real quick. I'm looking for a budget EDC knife for a woman that is easy opening and closing, and she has arthritis. So I kind of whiffed on that question last time, because I don't have arthritis, actually. So I was looking for some feedback from you guys, and you gave it to me, and I really appreciate that. One thing that was brought up that I didn't bring up the first time was go with a fixed blade. The reason I didn't bring up a fixed blade the first time, even though I'm always a fixed blade proponent, is you asked for easy opening and closing, so I assumed you were looking for a folder. But there's a lot of neck knives out there on the market that would work. There's some cold steel push daggers would work really well, but we'll leave a link to our neck knife video. You can check those out. But I do have one recommendation here. It's not quite a budget recommendation, but I do think it's worth talking about for arthritis sufferers in general, and that's the Spyderco Enough. It comes in about $126. It's got a nice Kydex sheath, and it's just a nice, compact, everyday carry fixed blade. Now, the reason that I wanted to show this blade in particular is because I think the handle design is going to be very conducive for the types of uses you're looking for. For one thing, there's enough length. Again, slightly larger than average hands here. I can still get all 4 of my fingers into that handle, even though you've got a beak there at the back. And in addition to that, The handle's really nice for this sort of use because one, you've got a lot of grip. You've got Spyderco's bidirectional FRN, so it's easy to hold onto, but it's not just a flat slab. They've actually given it a nice fixed blade swell as well. So it's gonna fit into the hand very nicely. And I think ergonomics especially are gonna be very important for this type of use. And you've also got the finger guard incorporated into it, so you've got some safety there. So I did want to bring this knife into the equation, even though it's not necessarily a budget consideration. But a few different blade shapes available, about 2 3/4 of an inch on this particular one. Full flat ground VG10, great utility knife. Now, as for other options, you folks had some really good stuff to say. A lot of you who do suffer from arthritis said like frame locks and liner locks weren't too big of a problem for you folks. Lockbacks weren't too bad, so I'd stick by my my Lion Steel Spyderco collab that I showed in that last video, even though it's not budget. But two things on the budget side here for you. The Emerson Wave was mentioned a few times, and you can get that for not too much money with the Kershaw Emerson collaboration series. This particular one's the CQC 6K, comes in at 48 bucks. D2 blade steel on this particular one, although there are stainless steel options in the series. And because you don't have to worry about opening it with your thumb, or because you've got the Emerson Wave, you don't have to worry so much about using your thumb. You can use that to catch on the hem of the pocket and open it as it extracts from said pocket. But if this woman is going to be keeping it in her purse, might not be the best option. But I'm going to come down to my definitive recommendation for this, and that's the CRKT BT Fighter for the arthritis sufferer's knife on a budget. Comes in 45 bucks, and this is a very easy knife to operate. Not only do you have the button lock there that's easy to depress, not necessarily easy to depress inadvertently, but when you do push that button, it's very easy to flick that blade closed, either like so, or use two hands to close it, no problem there as well. And it's a very easy flipper to actuate, and the action is actually very good on these knives as well. So very easy to use, very easy to operate the lock and open the blade. And of course, you can also open it two-handed if you don't want to flip, no problem there. There's plenty to grab onto, even right there, if you use the thumb studs. But beyond that, it's just a great little usable shape. It's just a simple handle. It's glass reinforced nylon, but it's patterned to look a little bit fancier, so that might get some style points for this woman in your life. And the blade shape, it's just very usable. HCR 13 MOV steel, sub 3 inches, so it's going to be something that can be carried most places, and just a great little shape for EDC, everyday utility tasks, stonewashed finish. Really like this knife, and I think it would be a really good option for you, sir. All right, our last question comes from Rogue Piston. Looking into possible career or job opportunities where I could use my knives as much as possible in work scenarios, legally, of course. Any suggestions? Well, secret agent, obviously, but you know that's not a serious suggestion. But I would say get into a food prep or kitchen job. In the world today, it's probably one of the last remaining genres of work where your ultimate success and survival survives, at least in part, on your skill with a blade. Not many people can say that anymore, and there's something kind of satisfying about that. So whether you're working in a kitchen doing prep work with the kitchen knives there, or butchery or meat processing, that sort of thing, you're gonna live and die by your knife skills and what you're able to do with the blades every day and what your output from your knives is. So that's pretty cool. Check those industries out. But that's it for the questions today. Thank you for everyone who's been submitting your questions in the comments of these videos. If you have a question, go ahead and do that, and maybe we'll get a chance to feature it in a future installment. Meantime, if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, we will leave links in the description to take you over to KnifeCenter.com. While you're over there, make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program, because if you're going to buy one of these knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. Thanks everyone for sticking around. Thanks everyone for subscribing. We're going to hit that mark real soon. See you guys next time.